Hey everybody, it's Laura, and today I'm going to start my story time, 911 story times. And these are just stories that come from me being a 911 dispatcher. I did that for about almost 18 months. And what I'll first, I kind of go through like the whole process of becoming a 911 dispatcher, because it's not easy at all. I mean, that was the longest process that I ever went through for a job. So I'll start with that, kind of what made me want to be a dispatcher. We'll do that today, and then later I'll start with my stories. And all of my stories for 911 will probably be in my car, since that's where I spend most of my time, and it's the most private, so I can actually be able to tell you about what happened and not have any interruptions unless someone calls me. But anyway, so you all know that I went back to school to become a therapist. I'm an LPC, a licensed professional counselor, and in the process of that, I wasn't working because I thought that I just needed to do school full time. Like after I left the nonprofit that I was working for, I just decided that I just needed to not work at all and just go to school full time. And that worked for a little bit, and then I got really bored because, I mean, the classes didn't occupy my whole entire day like I anticipated them doing. So, I started working at a spa, and then I became a manager at a spa, and that was all good, but I still didn't feel fulfilled. I felt like I wasn't doing what I'm supposed to do in life. And so I was like, what kind of job can I get that I am able to work with people in crisis full time? That's all I wanted to do, was work with people in crisis, so that when I did become a counselor or therapist, I would, have some type of, something to pull from, some type of experience, I guess you could say. And so I was looking online for different jobs. I was going to do like work at a rape crisis center, which I'm glad I didn't work there, because I think that would have been like extremely difficult. So you had that, and then there was 911 call taker dispatcher for the city of Dallas. So I was like, I can do that. That's no problem at all. So I started the process in like, I don't know what month it was, maybe February or March or something like that. And this is with Dallas. The agency that I work for, I will not say the agency name, just for privacy reasons, but I will tell you that I did apply to work in Dallas because I was interested in doing that. And then there was some big scandal going on the news. Fake news. Just kidding, it wasn't fake. There was some type of scandal going on with Dallas 911, and apparently a dispatcher had gotten fired for following protocol, which really doesn't make any sense at all, right? So apparently there was a call that came in. She took the call. She dispatched out the call. The call was dispatched out, and the officers got there, didn't find anything. And then come to find out that there was a lady who was killed in that house. And so it was like this whole big old fiasco, and she ended up losing her job. And I just thought, I do not want to live in a city work for an agency that's not fighting for their people. And I say that they weren't fighting for their people because, I don't know exactly what happened, but all I know is from working where I worked, we have a protocol for a reason. And if I put in a call, then there's a dispatcher who dispatches the call. And then from there, we have sergeants who say, okay, we're not going to go to that, or, that's not a priority type of thing. It's things like that into place. And she did what she was supposed to do, and I really personally don't understand why she was fired, but nonetheless, she was. And I just really was kind of distraught about that. So I withdrew my application, and I was at the end of the process, and I just withdrew my application because I didn't want to be associated with that. So I applied for a different agency in the Metroplex. And if you all don't know what our Metroplex is here in the Dallas area, it's Dallas and Fort Worth. So we're kind of like sister cities. We are basically next door to each other, but there's some cities in between us and then that surround us. So the agency that I worked for was in the Dallas part of the Metroplex, north of the city of Dallas. And so I applied for that agency. I figured, hey, they don't have a whole bunch of stuff going on like crazy like Dallas does, and I can still get the crisis experience that I needed and not have to worry about, people getting their heads blown off every day. And I was totally okay with that. So I applied for the agency. I got a call back. You have to come in and you have to do a computerized examination to determine whether or not you're even eligible to do the job. So I did that, and I passed it, and I was able to go on to the next round of hiring, which is a personal history statement. And that basically, you go through, you tell all of your jobs, all the jobs that you've ever had. If you've ever had any if you have any criminal history, they want to know that at that time. If you ever gotten any traffic violations, they want to know that. Basically, they're looking for you to be completely honest with them. If you've ever used any drugs, what drugs did you use? When is the last time that you used them? How did you use them? Who did you use them with? It's legit, like a whole bunch of stuff. After you fill that out, you meet with their panel, their interviewing panel, which consists, my panel was someone from, now that I worked there, mine was someone from the training department, the recruiter, and we also had someone from QA, quality assurance, there in my panel interview. It was cool. We talked for about 30-40 minutes about just my life experiences, work experiences. If this happened, what would I do? How would I handle it? Type of things. Sorry, y'all, this sun is a beast, and it's 57 degrees outside. So once I get up past this light, the lighting should change a bit. But nonetheless, it was a long, drawn-out process. After I finished with that part of it, I had to take a polygraph test, a polygraph examination, which, me personally, I do not like polygraphs, urinalysis, blood tests for employers. I feel like it's an invasion of your privacy. Not to say that you are doing things, but I just feel like no one should have the right to take your blood and determine, or actually, correction, no one should have the right to hook you up to a machine and ask you whatever questions they want to ask you to determine if you're being truthful or not. I feel like my word should be enough, and if that's not enough, then you really don't need to hire me, because again, I feel like that's an invasion of my privacy, and whatever pills I've taken, whatever drugs I've smoked is my business. But nonetheless, since I don't do those things, it really wasn't a big deal, but I just don't like those. So I took the polygraph test, I passed it. I took the drug test, I passed it, and everything was good. And I was given a start date, and I was super, super, super excited about it. I started with 2 other girls, so there were 3 of us in our class. And the way it works is you go, and it's a 6-week course. Your first day there, you do a lot of things because you work for the city. So I did a lot of things for the city, with the city on that day. I did like my badge, It's this man standing here at the corner acting a fool with a dog begging for money. Don't understand. But anyway, so my first day, it was more or less my orientation with the city, kind of learning the city policies and procedures and things like that. So I did that day one, and that was cool. And then like the latter part of the day, after I finished everything, I was actually able to go down into the dispatch and sit with, after I got my books, like my training books, I was able to sit with a call taker and listen to them while they were on the phone, listen to their calls and stuff. And I mean, it was really, really cool. It was really exciting, very interesting that day. And I was like, oh, I could do this. This isn't bad at all. Like the calls that were coming in, I was like, okay, so people call 911 for this. I think that was like one of my main things, like when I first started working there, was people call 911 for this. Like, this is not an emergency at all. But I learned very, very quickly that what I considered to be an emergency and what other people considered to be an emergency were very different. Sorry guys, I had to put these shades on because it got real sunny outside. So anyway, after 6 weeks of in the classroom, so in that process, we went to the police station, actually to the jail. Went to the jail to get fingerprinted. That was interesting just because, you know, it was a jail, and the place that we went into the jail was like bookend. So we went to the same place that the actual inmates are to get their fingerprints, and so we were able to like be really, really close to the inmates. And I'm telling you, like, these people that were in there, some of them were like nuts, and that's okay because we all have our things, you know. Check out my video, Truth About Depression, you know. Hey, we all got our things. And so I mean, they were banging on the doors because they were like inside of the cells, locked in there with the big old ass heavy doors. And not only were they in there, but like it was this one guy, he was in a cell by himself, and he was straight tripping. Like, he was like making all types of noises, and like he was just and then we could see like in one cell it was like 5 people. They had some mats, I guess like a little holding cell, because the agency that I worked in, it's not the like city, it's not where the county jail is. So everybody kind of sits in the city jail until they transfer them to county. They didn't really hold people for like extended periods of time. So we got fingerprinted like week 1 or week 2, and then we had to go and get certified to give CPR over the phone, CPR instructions. And I was already CPR certified, which made no difference at all. I still had to go through the course because not only do you do that, you learn different protocols, your emergency medical dispatching protocols, and those are very important because they, you know, go through the steps on how to treat certain ailments or injuries or whatever. So that is super, super important, and that makes a difference. Like in Dallas, their 911 dispatchers, they only take police calls. But in the agency that I worked in, we took police and medical calls, which is I think definitely a benefit, because if I answer the phone, doesn't matter what type of call that it is or was, I could answer the call. In the city of Dallas, if I were a call taker dispatcher, if I answered the phone, it was a medical call, I had to transfer it over, which for me is a delay in service, and you know, someone is not getting the help that they could get because I had to transfer the line. So I was very grateful for that. And so once you finish your 6 weeks of classroom, you do what we call OJT, on the job training, and you do that with a trainer. So basically, you're sitting at a monitor at a computer, and there are about 6 monitors at your console, and 3 at the top, 3 at the bottom. You have 3 keyboards. Actually, you have 2 keyboards and 2 mouses, and then like a big keypad right there. That's where you answer your phone, push dial the numbers and stuff like that. I really wish that I could go in there and show you. But I mean, I could, but I'm not gonna go back there just for videos. But at any rate, when you're doing your OJT, on the job training, you're tethered or connected. Your trainer is connected to you, so there's not a call that goes on where there is not someone there to help you if you need help, to jump in if you need them to jump in on the call, anything like that. Praise God, my trainer never had to jump in and take over a call for me, which I am very grateful for, because there were some, like I said, the two other girls that were in the classroom with me, their trainers had to jump in on calls for them sometimes, and I just felt like I would feel like such a failure had that happen. I know that that's really not that big of a deal, but for me it was. So I never had that happen. You have to do at least 140 hours of on-the-job training in order to be released to answer phones on your own. And that is just determined by your trainer, if they feel that you are ready to do it or not. So I was released it takes 140 hours to be recommended. I did 249. I did 249 hours, which is not a whole lot, because sometimes people go up to 300 at least. Not a lot of people finish in 140 hours, so I was about average. So I remember the first time I had to answer a phone call by myself, I was so scared. I was nervous because I didn't have that cushion, right there to take over if I needed her to. But as the days progressed, I just got a little bit better every day with answering the phone. And, I got super, super comfortable to the point that there wasn't hardly a call that came through that just, scared me. Like, I wasn't ever really nervous answering the phones. Sometimes there were times that I would get a call in and I would just get extremely frustrated because I really didn't understand like why they were calling 911 or anything like that. But the time I was there, I loved it. I loved it. And I also was like a NCIC operator dispatcher, which is NCIC is like a criminal information database. So that's just what we would look up to find out if people had warrants, if where they had warrants out of, criminal history, things like that. And so I was trained on that. And so anytime like an officer would pull someone over, and I'm gonna give you an example. So if an officer pulls someone over, especially like a motorcycle officer pulls someone over, they don't have a MDC, so they're not able to look up that person's information. So what they would do is they would call traffic, and then they would say, I'm out with, they give a license plate number, and everything is done phonetically. So if the license plate is BDR 1234, it'd be Boy Robert David 1234, you run the plate, and they ask you for then they ask you to run the person's name just to make sure that their license is valid and not suspended. So they would spell that name out phonetically. My last name, Boy Robert Young, Adam Nora Tom. First name, Lincoln Adam Young. Correction, Lincoln Adam Union, Robert Adam. So you give date of birth, black female, blah blah. So I look them up, and then I go over the air and say, married to, say go ahead, say your subject is clear all the way, or actually your subject is clear all the way. They have an eligible class CDL, expires in 20. That matches what he says, so everything is good, copacetic, cool. If you're able to pull somebody over with warrants, ask them is their radio clear, your subject as possible, shows possible code, whatever, and out of Richardson, misdemeanor single, or whatever the case is. So it's just kind of like little things like that that you would determine their status or whatever, and I would just give it back to them. But so yeah, that's basically how I got into 911, why I got into it, only because I really wanted to be able to speak with people who are going through crisis at that time. I felt like it would really help my career as a therapist, as a counselor, and it would just really be beneficial for me. So I recently left that job technically September 1st. I left the job and I started a new endeavor in nonprofit, back in the nonprofit sector. So I'm super, super duper excited about that. So yeah, that's pretty much it, how I ended up in 911. And again, there will be story time videos to follow, what happened in 911, some of the crazy calls that I took. Definitely message below if you want to hear some of those calls. Let me know if you want to hear something funny, if you want to hear something sad, if you want to hear a time where I felt helpless, anything you want to hear, because I'm sure I have a story. And I do want to preface that with saying I never took a call where someone was like running or afraid for their life, someone was shooting them or stabbing them or anything like that. I didn't take any of those calls. So yeah, again, like I said, I worked at an agency that was not not the big city like Dallas, but you know, it had its own unique set of issues. So I will definitely share some of those stories, but comment below what you want to hear and I will let you know. But anyway, I am almost to work, finally. I'm almost to work, and I'll try to vlog some more. You know, I'll try to vlog during the day, which that vlog will be up at a different time. But anywho, thanks guys for watching. Sorry if the video is bad. If it's real bad, then I won't post this video. But you know, again, I'm in the car and driving on this beautiful morning. So yeah, have a great one. Bye.